Well, I don't really know what it was doing there, but it looked sort of about 8 inches. Dunno.
That's impressive. And welcome back
I've seen
to.
bigger.
Well, but you have. Welcome back to this week's Timeless
I mean, they've got to be
podcast.
that size for me to see them.
Oh, yeah, I guess that is true. I guess there
That,
was
that
a.
you know, anything smaller than that, and I fall down the pothole.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's happened a few times, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Yeah, welcome back, everyone, to this week's episode of the Timeless podcast. I'm joined with John and Owen
Awooga.
and Connor.
Hello.
You may know Connor if you
Yeah,
live in
you may
Cardiff.
recall like Connor from previous podcast episodes, such as the Christmas ones that we've done. I think he's done a couple of Marvel ones. You may know him from certain niche venues in the in the Cardiff scene.
This week we are reviewing Mawdryn Undead, the fifth Doctor story. Before that, we do have to ask everyone, how are they? We've all been a bit busy this week, you know. I mean, at least the three regulars have been potting around in some form of convention or
Yes,
whatever.
I spent the weekend in wet, windy, cold Bristol. In a lovely hotel, I'd say, which wasn't wet, windy, or cold because it had walls and windows and shit. Yes, I spent a lovely weekend at Pandorica, won by Phantom Events. Had a lovely couple of days. And I was just looking through my photos tonight, and I realised that actually the guests that I have met this weekend span the full gamut of Doctor Who, because I met Carol Ann Ford, who was obviously in the very first episode. I met yet again Sophie Eldred, who was in the most recent episode. And I met Jacqueline King for the first time, who is in the next episode. So you got 60 years worth of Doctor Who under one roof. Obviously met Katie. Sparky decided to indecently assault Peter Purvis during a photo. It was just a jolly time had by all, especially Sparky.
Was it similar to like galley vibes because it was in a hotel, or was it a bit different?
Obviously much smaller, but yeah, with everything under the same roof, great. It's a lovely feeling, like at 5:30 when you're going, I need to go and have a lay down and feed my dog, to only have to go about 20 meters to do it. Although there was a bit of a shit scary moment as I was going towards the lift, and two clowns from The Greatest Show in the Galaxy jumped out, which was like not a big fan of clowns.
I saw those guys there, and I was like, "Do you know what? I'm happy I didn't go because I fucking hate
not a
clowns."
big fan of clowns.
Yeah.
On the subject of hanging out with clowns, you went to LFCC, didn't you?
I did indeed. Yeah, I had a really good time. Actually, it was great.
I'm not referring to the people that you went to as clowns. I'm just talking about the general LFCC customer.
Yeah. Luckily, I didn't really meet any of those types of people. I had a really good time.
You didn't run anybody over with your wheelchair this time. And
no,
went,
no, I didn't run anybody over.
Let go past, because they were a bit of a tit.
No, I didn't run anybody over this time. Thankfully, or not thankfully, depending
didn't
on
drive past any homeless people with your wallet out.
Not to my knowledge, no. Not to my knowledge, no.
Right, okay.
And I got to meet Karen Gillan.
Have a look at my water.
Not twice, not
my torch.
Not once, not twice, but thrice. That was very fun. We had a very brief conversation.
Twice, 3 times a knockback.
I got to see Sophie Aldred again, which was always great, as you guys know. Sophie's
actually, bless Sophie, because she did LFCC on the Saturday and then drove straight up to Bristol and did Bristol on the Sunday to do both commitments. Unlike one or two other actors who may have cancelled Bristol to attend LFCC, even though they could very easily have turned around and gone, yeah, I'll do both days.
A funny story about Sophie as well. So she was on lunch break, so I decided to go over to the table to have a look at the print. Turns out Callum was with me as well, and we created an impromptu queue of about 15 people while Sophie was on a lunch break. There's one of those things where we're at the front of the queue now. If we leave, so we had to stay there for about 10 minutes, and she arrived. She's like, I don't know, I was meant to be back here. And we were like, no, neither did we. Then bless Callum. She goes, oh, hi, Callum, good to see you again. She goes, are you all right? And he goes, yep. And that's all he said to her. And she went, bye.
Maybe the people behind you thought it was the queue for the disabled toilets.
Potentially. I mean, I forget there's only ever one.
You both qualify, so, it's like...
Yeah, there's only... There's only one in the Olympia as well, which I always forget. Whenever I go upstairs, I think, oh, there's a disabled toilet, but there's not.
There's definitely one upstairs.
Not with the. Is there? I've been doing it
Yeah,
wrong.
I'm not sure how accessible it is to you, but because it's kind of like off to the right. Okay, so like in the hall on the hall nearer to the Hand of Flower,
Yep.
the upstairs gallery there.
Yep.
You've got in the far corner, you've got like the little sort of cafe eatery place.
Yeah.
Just to the right of that, there's like a doorway, and it heads down to the ladies, and there's a disabled toilet there. It's quite a narrow sort of corridor, so I genuinely don't know whether you would be able to fit down there. But
yeah,
there is officially an accessible toilet just down on the wall from that cafe.
oh.
This
Speaking of
this is riveting for any non-disabled
Yeah.
listeners who don't go to LFCT, by the way. But
the disabled
be thinking,
toilet,
what the
the
fuck are they
disabled
talking
toilet
about?
conversation is going to continue because they've moved the downstairs one. I say when they moved it, they flipped what side it's on, so it's not in the same place it used to be. It's now its own little bit. So
that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
not
You
someone
didn't go
knocks
through
on.
the bloody chance last time, and it was
Yeah,
like,
you'd have to do that anymore.
what if you're a woman? You know?
Yeah, you'd have to do that anymore.
Well, that's
And
fascinating.
I also met Sir Jacoby as well, and he was a delight and very, very nice and kind
and didn't actually look like a cardboard cutout in your photo.
Yeah.
There's one or two others where kind of does.
Yeah.
He's rather stoic.
That's a very good word, and possibly the first time that word has ever been used on the Timeless podcast.
Potentially.
I like it. This is why we have educated people like Connor Allen on, because they use words like that rather than me, who just sits here and says "cunt."
Educated.
I mean, watched Alex. I watched. Don't do that with your fingers. I watched your graduation ceremony, and I know the class of his degree and the class of yours.
Yeah. What are you saying? Eh?
Well, I'm saying that you don't sit there and go educated with your fingers like that. When he's got the certification to show.
Strange thing is, I think I've lost.
I'm a lawyer, Alex. I'm a man of evidence.
Strange thing is, I think I've lost mine.
Where is it?
I think I've lost.
I've got it somewhere.
Yeah, you've lost one because you've lost yours because you probably got pissed and left it in a pub.
Let me put it out for you.
No, I wouldn't do that with that. I did that with
I mean, I mean, let me put it this way: I doubt you put it on a high shelf.
No, but my mum might have.
That's a fair point.
But yeah, also another person I met wasn't a guest was Frank Skinner was in the queue to go get a photo with
Excellent.
Harrington. So I said hello. He was with his little lad, so I didn't ask for a photo or anything, but I did say hi, very briefly, obviously. Yeah,
it's a good job you didn't offer to go for a pint with him as well.
What around everyone? There we go.
If you don't know why that's a good joke, Google it. I'm not gonna
give it a Google.
Owen, it's gone over my head, so I might have to Google that myself.
Yeah, give it a Google.
I mean, that doesn't take much.
Give it a Google, Owen. Speaking of you, Owen, what were you up to this past weekend? Anything fun?
No, not really. Just working and then pottering about indoors doing housework mainly. Yeah.
And Connor, what have you been up to?
I've mainly been working for the last week. Getting the hours in before I have a few days off next week for the anniversary, and before Crimbo. So, yes.
Is there an anniversary next week?
Do you know what? I keep forgetting about it. Legitimately.
It's next week.
Yeah,
How can you forget about it?
Because like everyone's, I don't look at like the Doctor Who social pages. Like when there's a new poster and stuff. Like I didn't realize they released new posters like the other day, or like 3 days ago until
I mean,
this morning when I looked at
you'd
Subway.
understand somebody forgetting about it if it was an era that had fuck all promotion.
Yeah, I don't know. Like everyone's just like, oh, and then I think I keep forgetting that there's children need, and I was running that this morning.
Oh no, that does look exciting. The two promo images they've released.
I'm going to be missing it, but I'll watch the day after.
I'm going to be in work, sadly.
Pete, what do you not consider watching charitable television?
I donate every
part of
year.
your political beliefs, Alex?
No, I donate every year. It just happens this time at a house party.
Sounds like a you problem.
Not a me problem, mate. I get to drink and hang out with friends, and I get to watch a 5-minute Doctor Who short the day after. It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Meanwhile,
you get to hang out with friends and not have sex, just like recording this podcast.
Be fair, mate. You know.
Meanwhile, I'll be at work and I'll sneak off to watch it for 5 minutes.
It just means you've got to keep off of social media from spoilers.
I just hope they show it before the Big Brother finale.
I don't really care about spoilers for Children in Need short, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not like there's going to be like, it's not like all of a sudden Susan Foreman's going to pop up out of nowhere on Children in Need, and it's going to be like massively canon busting.
Yeah, I think a lot of the casual viewers that don't watch Doctor Who like, what on earth's going on? So I think
just find it weird that Carol Ann Ford did jump up at David Chen go, grandfather, what?
Yeah, exactly. But she might be in one of the episodes, who knows? I don't. She might be.
She was actually an absolute delight on Saturday. She was on really good form.
Good.
That's great to hear.
She looked like she's having a good time, to be fair.
Yeah. No, she really good form. Her panel was very good, and she was really up for a chat when doing sort of autographs and photos and stuff. Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually, I say surprised. I don't mean that in a mean way, but I've not had anybody have any bad experience with anyone they met across the many conventions and events that were going on this weekend. And apparently, everyone that everyone met was very nice and kind and chill and happy. So yeah,
I mean, at least you can say that Carol Ann Ford, is willing to do, signings and events like that. I mean, unfortunately, there are some who, don't seem to want to participate as much.
You can't force them,
I mean, some people, I think you've got to consider that some people that have been in Who are like of an age now where they want to basically retire. They don't want to be involved. That's part and parcel of being a fan of a show from like 60 years ago.
Some days they'd rather just do some gardening.
Oh, something like that, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you also just realise that some people conventions just aren't really their thing as well.
Yeah, and there's health issues that come into play with some of the elder statesmen and women. So
yeah, it's as people get older, their health is a bit more sort of up and down, and so they are more prone to cancer or not be available. It happens, and it's part of the game, isn't it? But no, I'm really pleased that everybody had a great weekend and was great fun.
Indeed.
And now we look forward.
We do look forward.
For example, John Levine cancelled Bristol this weekend actually, and I have a little theory that it was because they were doing a 2-minute silence each day, and he didn't think he could keep his mouth shut for that long.
Oof. Oh.
You're keeping that in.
I'm keeping that in. It's fine.
What's he going to do? Fucking shoot me? Probably.
Yeah.
But
we obviously did the 2-minute silence at Comic-Con as well. And the only issue is that they kept the speakers of like the Universal TV on. So all the trailers just kept changing. It was so bloody loud that it didn't really feel like a 2-minute silence at all. So they had obviously the musical piece, but over the top was just like the trailer for like Trolls, I think it was. And there was also like, what's that new Henry Cavill, Dua Lipa, John Cena movie that's coming out soon? Argyle, I think it is.
But LFCC's sensory overload anyway. It was a little bit more noise.
Exactly. Right. Speaking of finales and looking forward, it's time for our finale of John versus Owen. Owen.
I never like the fact that Owen gets an echo and I don't.
It's just because it's the end of the
Cunty,
name, isn't it? But there's
You know, it absolutely shows that you've been trying to fix this from day one.
I haven't. They've all been easy questions. And to prove it, because I want a winner today, to prove it, okay? You guys, there's nobody going first before anybody else to speak. It's buzzing. What is the name?
Connor needs to be quiet here, by the way.
Yeah, Connor, you can't get involved. This is serious top game show. What is the name of the school in which this episode is set?
Oh, fuck off.
That's yeah, there you go. You said, John, you said last week it was too easy, so this week I made it a bit more difficult. You can't have it both ways.
Have you got a backup question for if we don't get it?
Of course I do.
Okay. Can we have that then?
I saw the fright in both of their eyes.
Okay, of course I can. Right, okay, so this obviously is in the great season 20. Who can name me the order of every serial within season 20 first?
Arc of Infinity, Snake Dance, Mawdryn Undead, Terminus, Enlightenment, King's Demons, and then as a bonus, 5 Doctors, although technically it's not part of season 20.
By George, he's got it.
I mean, John does have the advantage on me.
Do you mean you also have the box set?
John watched it at the time.
I didn't actually. I didn't start watching until 1985.
Oh, okay.
Which of course
it's only
means...
a couple of years out.
Owen has the advantage. Owen has the advantage on me in that he's sold about 100 copies of the fucking season 20 box set over the last 2 months.
Yeah, but I've not really looked at the back of the box set.
You had the new tweet that you were using it earlier, so you could have looked at the back of it when you were getting it out.
Oh.
So hang on. So when you watched it, right? Did you watch it from the box set or on iPlayer?
I watched it from the box set, and do you know what? It was the first time I've actually, opened the box set.
I watched it on iPlayer actually.
Because it was still in its shrink wrap. I hadn't opened it whatsoever.
I watched it on iPlayer actually. I would have remembered the order anyway because I do that.
Yeah.
But obviously, when you're looking on iPlayer, it literally goes Arc of Infinity episode 1, Arc of Infinity episode 2, Arc of Infinity episode 3, Arc of Infinity, etc.
Right, and just for formalities, the answer to the first question was Brendan Public School would have been the answer I was looking for. Brendan Public School is the name of the school in the episode. So there you go.
I thought you might ask me what I thought you might ask me what year the Brigadier's car was made.
I was thinking that, and I thought that'd be too difficult.
1929.
There you go. I was thinking that. Owen has no idea. He's like, what car?
Or how many of the spaghetti head men there were?
8.
So you had about 5 backup questions for this, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
You really weren't convinced we were going to do anything, did you?
Right. No. I have to be prepared for these things. So that, of course, means that in the coming weeks, John will reveal what Owen has to have as his Twitter profile picture or header or something along those lines.
I'm not going to... Okay, so can I decide when it's going to be as well?
You can decide when it's going to be, yeah.
Okay, because I wouldn't want to sod him up for, like, the 60th and stuff. I'd be okay with that. But I think in the first week of December, in order to promote the signing that the shop has coming up, the promotional picture that the Who shop has got, Sophia Miles signing, should become Owen's Twitter profile picture. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's how the game works. That's how the game works. You got to do it. You got to do it, Owen.
I'm sorry.
Owen's got
Because, like you said, don't do anything offensive, and that's not offensive.
It's free promotion, Owen. It's free promotion.
Alex will give you a Christmas bonus.
I'm sure she will. Edie's loving it, look. She can't wait. But there you go.
See, this is what happens when Mr. Kingdom forgets to tell me in advance to think of something, and I just have to think of it off the top of my head. I actually come up with the most equal thing possible.
So for the first week of December, go to Dr. Disco 63 if you want to see the beautiful profile picture. Oh, wait, any thoughts? No?
Fuck you.
Moving on to the actual review. Of course, this week we are reviewing Mawdryn Undead. And of course, if you were around at the time, I'm going to give you some information. It was directed by Peter Moffat and written by my favourite person, Peter Grimwade, and was premiered from the 1st of February to the 9th of February in the year of 1983.
So what's the brilliant but potentially confusing thing about the fact that this was directed by Peter Moffat?
But
No
also,
idea.
Peter Davison's real name is also Peter Moffat.
It is Peter Davison's real name.
Oh, I mean, that was why Georgia Moffat makes more sense. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick synopsis, which is a warp eclipse draws the TARDIS off course. The Doctor and his companions are separated, not in space, but in time, and he has to deal with a treacherous schoolboy named Turlo. But why does Doctor's old friend, the Brigadier, not remember him at all?
That's not even Wikipedia. Well done.
It's from Doctor Who Wiki, but sure.
Okay.
I don't know these on this. I don't.
How does main Wikipedia go into more detail on the plot than Doctor Who Wiki?
They
Anyway,
just copied each other.
this one is an interesting one for me because this is the first time I watched this was in LA with John and Connor. That I think Connor was there. He might have been gallivanting somewhere else at the time, but I remember John.
I think I was somewhere else. I remember seeing the quote in the group chat where John had mentioned that it was written by Peter Grimwade, and you'd reacted, "Oh God."
I'm just trying to think of where you were because I know that Beef and Elijah were definitely there, so I wonder where you're at. But probably not a good time to run the podcast. I'm kidding. I definitely know it was me, Beef, Elijah, and John that watched it because.
Was it after Universal?
Yeah,
you might have watched.
It would have been
because after Universal, I went straight to sleep.
It could have been. I think you may well have gone to bed. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
it was definitely an evening where we'd been out for a day.
Yeah, so that was great, and that was on John's.
Yeah, obviously that was the day you woke up at like 3 a.m, didn't you? So you'd had a day of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was on John's favourite channel in America, the specific Doctor Who classic channel, which would just randomly.
I mean, you say it's my favourite channel. I think it was everybody's favourite channel.
I like the one that was playing the wrestling, just random episodes of Raw. We randomly fell on one in 2019 or something. We were like,
yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, it did take us until like day 8 to go. I'm pissed off for 24 hours of Doctor Who of day. Let's see if we got a classic wrestling anywhere.
Yeah. I'm going to throw Connor as a special guest. What do you make of this one, Sunshine?
I quite enjoy it. It's one of my favourite Fifth Doctor stories. In recent years, as soon as I'd sat there and thought this isn't a story that's meant for the Brigadier to be in it, and then when I found out for sure that it was meant to be Ian Chesterton in the Brigadier's place, it all clicked into place, and that it should have been that story. I'm happy that more Brigadier content, because between the two versions of the Brigadier, that Nicholas Courtney does portray them very differently, and I like that. It's a strange one, but I like it, and I love the concept of this perpetual regeneration, where a species has tried to become Time Lords, but they failed dramatically, and they are now cursed to have an everlasting existence of just pain and suffering because of their experiments. I love it.
Yeah, Owen, what about yourself?
I just think it's so cleverly created, written, and put together. Very well acted, and I just love that. You've got the Brigadier from 2 points in time, and so his later self is then retelling to the Doctor what happened in his past, which is obviously what's currently going on with Nissa and Tegan, and yeah, I just think it's really cleverly done.
It's very wibbly wobbly, timey wimey before
Oh,
it was a thing, and I like it.
Indeed, yeah.
I actively don't disagree. I think this is an episode with really strong ideas. I think it's really fun. I think there's one part where not a lot happens, but apart from that, I think it's like all the ideas are really strong. I think Nick Courtney probably gives one of his better performances because he gets probably the most to do, and he's not really in that I'm just soldier mode, which he sometimes can devolve into stories. Whereas this one, he has a purpose. He's a driving part of the plot, which is really good. For some reason, Nissa still has nothing to do in a story in which she's somewhat part of a secondary plot, but she still just stays in the TARDIS while Tegan does all the work. Bless her. Davison's really in this one. I like the idea of like you say, the race wanting to become Time Lords and failing. I think that's really strong. I understand. As to my knowledge, this is the beginning of a trilogy, right? Of the Black Guardian. So that's why that story's not particularly wrapped up here in any way, because it will continue.
Is it actually explained? Because even though watching it tonight, is it actually explained who, what species Mawdryn is?
They mainly just refer to them as mutants, don't they?
Yeah, I think basically the idea is that like he's a scientist and there's a bit of a fucked up experiment, so they don't go into sort of detail of where they're from, but like the actual mutation comes as a result of them fucking around with shit and it coming back to bite them on the arse, basically.
And they get a bit of Loki spaghettification in the old head there.
Yeah.
But I think it's really fun. I think it's 4 parts. It's brisk. It's solid. The set work is really cool. I think like the inside of that spaceship is really expansive.
Oh, I love that. That's probably of early 80s Who. That's probably my favorite spaceship set design, because it's so. I mean, it looks more like it should be part of a mansion house than a spaceship, but I like it for that.
It looks very sort of Art Deco.
Yeah. It doesn't look cheap either.
No, definitely not.
This is also one of those rare Doctor Who episodes. I say rare, it's not rare, but this is one of those times where one of the cliffhangers is really funny, which is the end of part 1, where Turlo has the most unrealistic looking rock in his arms. It's slow. Something out of WWE. Slowly about to hit the Doctor with it as the credits roll. But John, Mawdryn Undead, are you going to complete the quad and say that you enjoy it as well?
I'm a really big fan of this one. Highlights for me, it's got probably my third favourite incidental character or guest character in all of Doctor Who, after D84 and Pigbin Josh, the absolute legend that is on my background here, Hippo Ibbotson. In the late 70s, early 80s, 1983, if a schoolboy was rather rotund, he got the rather nice nickname of Hippo. And his teachers said things like, maybe if you looked after your body a bit better, your mind would also be healthy. So nice bit of fat phobia there for your family viewing. But yeah, for a series that deals with time travel, Doctor Who doesn't actually look at cause and effect and look at time travel very often and the effects of it. And when it does, it really works. As it does here with the whole thing of the 1977 version of Brigadier, the 1983 version of Brigadier, what happens when they meet. I kind of get that this was initially written with William Russell in mind and William wasn't available, but I think that it being the Brigadier gives it another element, because I think that if you're going to do this whole thing where the 1983 version of the character's got PTSD, I think that takes on a lot more weight if you've got somebody that's formerly military. Because the actual reaction that you see from the 1983 Brigadier is like, I went to see Dr. Runciman and he told me a few things and it's all rubbish and stuff. So yeah, I'm a really big fan of it. Bizarrely, it's not my favourite part of the Black Guardian trilogy. That's Enlightenment, which I think knocks the socks off of everything bar maybe 2 or 3 Davison stories. I'm a big fan of that one. But yeah, set designs are great. The whole thing looks fantastic. Tegan's got a lot to do, and it's probably my favourite Tegan costume actually. It's really sort of iconic look that she's got in this whole thing. I love the little sort of moments between her and the Brigadier, which obviously we get to see revisited in the 5 Doctors. I like that they kind of establish the friendly relationship between them and that the 2 characters that get on. And yeah, it's just a really good story with a fantastic guest. But David Collins is always brilliant. But great to have Valentine Dale back as a Black Guardian. This thing is so stacked that Turlo, who's your new companion, turns up like 6th or 7th on the cast list for the episodes.
So wait, is this not the first time you see the Black Guardian then?
No.
Yeah, Black Guardian in the Key to Time.
Oh.
Yeah. That was the whole thing with season 20 was that they wanted to make it wall to wall returning villains. So you had Omega in After Infinity, then you had the Mara come back, then you've got the Black Guardian trilogy, and then you've got the Master in King's Demons.
Who played the Black Guardian in Key to Time?
Valentine Dial again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he died like only a year or 2 after recording this, I think. But yeah, same guy. He was also really well known for he used to read horror stories on the radio. He used to do a thing called Fear on 4, which sometimes gets repeated on Radio 4 Extra. So he was known as the Man in Black, and he used to tell sort of really creepy sort of horror stories on late night radio shows.
After watching Mawdryn Undead, I went on to watching Behind the Sofa, and Katie mentioned about listening to Valentine Dine on the radio when she was a kid and found him terrifying.
So, yeah. As I say, look out on Radio 4 Extra. I think it's normally Saturday and Sunday nights. They have like a horror and sci-fi hour or whatever, and quite often they used to repeat old sort of horror stories read by Valentine Dial.
I mean, yeah, one thing we want to talk about with this episode is the makeup. I mean, Owen, if you're watching on the YouTube version, as a background showing part of that there, but also like Nyssa and Tegan, I think it's at the end of, or the beginning of part 4, sorry, they start to sort of, become like that. Yeah, wither is a good term.
That's the point at which Reece Jenkins turned his DVD off.
I was going to say decay, but
I had a little bit of a break.
But yeah, I mean, the makeup's really good in this. Like, it doesn't look cheap either. Like, it's quite simple, but it's very effective, I think.
Given how much Classic Who gets criticised for its budget and how it looks, this actually looks really good. This whole story.
I like the music as well. The music in it is very good.
I was going to say as well, yeah, the music's really good in this,
especially the music over the flashback sequence. I mean, it's very 80s, but I like that. It's very synthy. I like that. It's my jam.
Nothing wrong with the 80s, mate. It's the best theme for Doctor Who in Classic Who. This Davison theme is the best Doctor Who theme in the classics, in my opinion. It's the one that I watch every time, and it gets me most interested to watch an episode. Might be controversial, that, but there you go.
My favourite one's the McCoy one, to be honest.
That's another banger. But yeah, obviously, I think would it have been Peter Howell that would have done this as well?
Yes.
Peter Howell, yeah. Must have been Peter Howell, yeah. I thought, yeah, like I said, I thought it was really good. I thought the flashback was a nice touch. Like you say, very 80s cheese all over that. But quite good. I think it's also really nice to see, because this would have been the first time you see the brig since Zygons. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, that is correct.
It would have been that long
Yeah,
ago.
you get unit in a couple of other stories like Android Invasion and Seeds of Doom, but you don't get to see the brig in it.
Yeah, is it how's Harry Sullivan in Android Invasion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Harry is in Android Invasion. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I remember because we did that one. I was like, oh god, there's Harry Sullivan. He's popped up for a couple of minutes.
Even Sergeant Benton's in it as well.
Oh yeah, forget that. Everyone's favourite Sergeant Benton. But
There
another
is I
remember.
Start singing that.
But yeah, like I said, the only thing that for me I found unintentionally funny, I loved the void that Turlo was in when he was speaking to the Black Guardian at the first part. This random sort of optical illusion, and it's quite funny, isn't it? It's like the
that was state of the art computer graphics for the time.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. It probably cost a bit of money, that as well. You know, it was very good. Poor Hippo as well. Bless him. He's, always blamed. Even the Brigadier's like, have you caned him? It's like, Christ, Brigadier, Jesus.
I tried to flog that young man's within an inch of his life.
It's like, damn.
Pardon?
It's like, damn.
I didn't realise it was that sort of school.
But a fun thing that I'd noticed was the school teacher who was talking to Turlo in part 2 before he turns into the Black Guardian. Did anyone recognise what he was from?
I recognised the name, but I didn't. Yeah,
Big Tesco.
He's the vicar from Only Fools and Horses in The Frog's Legacy.
Ah.
You left it in my vestry. It's that guy.
But did you realise that when Tegan and Nyssa get de-aged, the younger Nyssa is Lucy Benjamin's future of EastEnders?
I didn't notice that. Oh,
these are references that are going over my head.
She shot Phil Mitchell.
Yeah, big. I know Phil Mitchell.
More recently, she's been addicted to online poker, but
I mean, that doesn't narrow it down. She's one of a number of people that have shot Phil Mitchell over the years. To be fair,
yeah, including Shelley Carter.
Phil Mitchell.
Grant shot at Phil.
Welcome to the EastEnders podcast.
Yes.
Is it actually only Lisa and Shirley that have shot Phil?
To my knowledge, yeah.
The only episodes of EastEnders I ever watched was when I was around living with Connor for a year, and I watched more EastEnders then than I've had in my life.
Well,
it was education for you.
That basically means you got to watch it when it was shit.
Yeah, it was shite, and he was like, "This is a classic episode. This is from 2009."
Whoa! In that case, if you were watching old ones,
no, sometimes it'd be new, sometimes it'd be old. I didn't know any of the characters. I didn't know any story arcs. I was like, who's dead?
If we'd told you the characters, you wouldn't have believed us.
Yeah.
The only massive flaw I have with this episode is, again, Nyssa doesn't really do anything in it, and I find it very weird because they split the Doctor and his two companions up, and then Tegan goes outside the TARDIS and does most of the stuff in parts 2 and 3 with the brig. And then at the end of, maybe half of part 3, and midway through part 3, Nyssa goes, "Who is that man?" And she goes, "It's the Brigadier, of course." It's like, okay, cool. And this has done nothing. I like Nyssa as a character, but yeah, just in this one, she doesn't really do anything to affect the plot.
I mean, this was shortly before they wrote her out, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you can tell that they either don't believe in the character anymore. They don't believe in the character anymore or something. But it did just feel weird that they've split the Doctor up and done 2 different stories, and even then, they've chosen to use the Brigadier twice and not even use Nyssa at all for basically half an hour, maybe going on 40 minutes. I do think that she sort of just, if she wasn't in this episode, nothing would have changed, like at all. I might be being slightly harsh with that, but I can't remember anything she did.
It's very Tegan led. That's not a bad thing. I
No,
love
not
it
at
for
all.
that, actually.
Not at all. Not at all.
I think, as much as I love Sarah Sutton and Nissa, I think that Tegan is by far a more interesting character.
Oh yeah.
I think once you get to Snake Dance, I think the Nissa character has possibly run its course. You know,
Yes.
she's had some really good stuff in Arc of Infinity, you know, where she's running around Gallifrey and stuff like that. But I think, once you get to Snake Dance, the character's run its course. She has a half decent send off in Terminus, but it's Terminus, so it can't be anything more than half decent.
Is this because this is a penultimate story, isn't it? Or is there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's gone in the next one.
Yeah.
I need to watch that story. I've not seen that yet.
Another thing I find really funny at the start of this is obviously this is just after Snake Dance, which I also find shite. And Davison's just like, get over it, Tegan. Namara's not here anymore. She's like, but Doc's, I'm scared. She's like, well, come on. Basically, what he's saying is like, get on with it. It's the next story now, Tegan. Move on.
Yeah, it's the 1983 equivalent of can't deal with this right now. I'm a bit socially awkward.
It's nowhere near as heinous as that, but it is similar.
You know, he's basically just going, can't deal with this right now. I'm a bit of a cunt.
Same thing with the Adric thing in the beginning of Time Flight. It's like, oh, Adric, moving on. That's
but
basic.
now we've got the Tales of the TARDIS.
Yeah, it's been fixed. It's been fixed. But it certainly means.
I mean, to be fair, technically, they did a patch job with in Power of the Doctor, didn't they? Before they did the promo.
Yes.
They the past year, despite them not being involved, have been very kind to Adric. You know, in the sense of
he's available.
He's as we know, he's available. But yeah, I've actually like I said, I've really enjoyed talking about this one, to be honest. I'm trying to think about other points. It's a very nice car at the beginning. Shame to see that get trashed.
1929.
Yeah, I like the fact that they were all clapping Turlo and Hippo off as they drove away as well. Very, very.
Rather spiffing in the car.
That was yes. That was the moment.
That was the vibe I got.
Yeah. I also like the fact that the directions is very good. I think the only thing that the shortcoming of them was the fact that Peter Moffat didn't really know how to direct the action too well in the car, because it is really weird, like slow pan zooms and slow motion and stuff.
I honestly, I think if this story had been directed by Graham Harper at the time, I think it would be up there as one of the all-time classics. But alas, it wasn't.
No, I think it sits in that. I would call it, before we get into our ratings and stuff, I would call it sits in that Sunday afternoon Who sort of thing. If you put it on, you can have a good time, but maybe you wouldn't immediately jump out to pick it straight away. Like if somebody was to suggest, do you want to watch Mawdryn Undead? I certainly wouldn't say no, but maybe it wouldn't be one of my first choices.
One of the drawbacks for me, and this is purely a me thing with this story, is whenever I watch anything involving private schoolboys and loads of posh people in posh schools, I can't relate to that in any way. So it feels like an alien world to me watching people interact like that, because I've never seen anyone interact in that way. And it just feels overly pretentious to me. Maybe that's just my working class roots, but it sort of puts up a barrier straight away in the story, which soon you get rid of it, but it's still there, and it's still an element of the story which I'm sort of hesitant to get behind, but the rest I love. I absolutely love it.
Did you suggest I've been to private school?
To be fair, if it had been set in an inner city comp, no cunt would be parking a 1929 fucking classic.
Well,
car.
yes, that is true, but
it'd be on bricks after two. You know, Turlo wouldn't have been able to nick on it because he'd been on bricks after 2 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, and I've not been to private school.
Some cunt would have cut the brakes.
Yeah, crikey. No, I do get what you mean as well. I think as well in like these old 80s sort of depictions of it as well, it's all very over the top and a bit cheesy.
Yeah,
so,
when I'm watching, I'm sort of watching. I'm going, this doesn't feel like it's set in the 1980s. It doesn't.
no.
The stuff in the school does not. And I think with the car as well, I get it. It's a posh classic car that they're trashing. But with that car and their uniforms and their stupid little bloody hats, it just, I'm like, this doesn't feel like 1983.
Yeah.
This is the whole thing with private schools. They're not contemporary. They are a bubble.
Well,
You know,
yes, yeah, but
you could go into a private school now and it'll probably still be like that to a great extent.
but it's still, when you're coming in with no relation to that background, or in it, does that make sense?
Yeah, you're just saying you want to set in
Yeah.
Gloucester, mate. That's what you're saying.
Okay.
Hey, if this story had been set in Gloucester, oh,
Are there any what Doctor Who stories are set in Gloucester?
I was driving my van down the road and some silly burger drove a classic car right up towards me.
which story is set in Fugitive of the Jadoon?
Yes, that is. So, yeah, you were there.
Yeah. The next Doctor was filmed there.
Go on, David Morrissey.
It's not set there, but it was filmed there. I think it's just Fugitive of the Jadoon.
Great representation for you guys. So great cathedral.
Hey, I've walked through Gloucester sometimes, and I've seen a lot of people that look like fucking space rhinos.
You can say it because he's from there. Yeah, the last thing I want to talk about is I do obviously, like you mentioned, that it was originally meant for William Russell to come back. I do think the setup of the Brigadier being in a school is a bit weird. I think they could have edited the script slightly because I feel like there are also some lines that are just meant more for Ian than they are the Brig. And it does feel a bit weird coming out of the Brig's mouth. But when you get into like the second part and all that, they do devolve it into a Brig story.
But then I do think that there are certain things that you hear and you can only hear the Brig saying it that Ian wouldn't say. You know, like the stuff when he realizes he's got PTSD.
Of course, yeah.
Ian wouldn't have reacted like that.
No, I don't disagree. As I mentioned, I think it was just in the setup. I think it's a bit bizarre, and they brush it off very quickly. I was like, "Oh, why are you working in a school now?" He's like, "Because." And it's like, sweet.
Sorry that my computer keeps buzzing. It's millions of messages from that cunt Hyman, so I shall mute the chat.
It's all right. We can't hear it. There's no buzzing coming through on you, so you're okay.
I've got a theorem.
Oh, Connor's theory.
That Mawdryn Undead takes place during a break in the marriage between the Brig and Doris, because there's no mention of Doris, which of course she gets introduced later on, which is understandable. But when you're looking at it from a timeline perspective, he was just on a long break from Doris. The army had got to him, and I think that.
So he wanted to work in private school.
I think at some point in late 1983, he had a phone call and he went back to the family home with him and Kate and Doris. Lovely.
Because you see him in Five Doctors, and you don't see him till Survival. Is that right?
Well, he's back working with UNIT in the Five Doctors.
Yes, he is.
Later, like a few months later, he is back at UNIT. Which
he's
not working though, is he? Isn't it? Isn't that like basically a celebratory dinner in his honor?
Oh yeah.
Yes, true. Yes.
Yeah, and then he gets abducted by Castellan, and then you don't see him. You don't see him with the Sixth Doctor at all, do you?
Only in Dimensions in Time.
Yeah, but I'll talk about it in the main show.
No, you don't.
Nothing wrong with Dimensions in Time. Dimensions in Time is a great little bit of fun.
Hang on, Alex, are you suggesting that Dimensions in Time isn't canon?
No, I was just saying it's not in the main episode order of the show. I like Dimensions in Time. I think it's really fun. I got no issues with Dimensions in Time. I think it's really bizarre that you see a bunch of aliens on the set of EastEnders, but apart when you get across that bit, it becomes quite funny. Also, Colin Baker's like really short hair in that, which he never has ever again as the Doctor, is rather funny. But yeah, that's from Dimensions in Time. It's great. Also Noel Edmonds in it. So great fun. Isn't it the last thing John Pertwee did as well? Was it?
That was devious.
In terms of television, possibly, but
Yeah.
did radio stuff, obviously. They
Yeah,
recorded Ghost of Space after Dimensions in Time.
There we go. Anybody got any other
I think
thoughts?
he also did his one-man show after Dimensions in Time. I peed in your cab.
I was only thinking of that this morning.
Still good. So good.
Anybody got any other
Jen.
thoughts on Mawdryn Undead before we give scores on the door?
Bit of a silly title because obviously he's dead by the end of it.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, let's talk about. We haven't really delved into that. Actually, like the
He's
science.
undead for most of it.
We haven't really delved into like the scientists and that plot line of it, which is really good. The thing I would say is it's slightly rushed because I would have liked a bit more of the Doctor having a bit of a conversation with Mawdryn, which you don't really get too much. Only because when it does happen for the brief couple of minutes, it's really interesting, and you really get some nice back and forth. And actually, the part 3 cliffhanger. I was laughing at the part 1 cliffhanger, the part 3 cliffhanger. I think it's actually quite good.
If you got the rest of my regeneration.
Yeah. I think overall, like you said, it's actually really quite a dark implication. The Doctor's either going to kill them or he doesn't, he survives, but then Nyssa and Tegan get infected because they dragged him into the TARDIS, which I think is also a very good use of the script because that's something you might forget, especially because it wasn't aired all on the same day. So that was in the first part, I think, or maybe part 2. So the viewers at the time wouldn't have strictly probably had that in the forefront of their brain. So it's kind of like an oh shit moment, when you watch it and you go, oh yeah.
It's a nice precursor to the end of Davison's character because in this story he is about to sacrifice himself and his remaining regenerations to save his friends.
Yeah.
What does he do before he regenerates? He saves Perry.
Yeah.
It's a very nice.
It's why the 5th Doctor is underrated. He's a very solid character. I like the 5th Doctor.
It's almost a bit like a foreboding in a way. I like it.
Absolutely. Again, I like it as well. I think there are some really funny moments with Double Brig. You can always tell which Brig is the actual Nick Courtney and which one isn't. I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but there was just a bold patch on Nick Courtney that it doesn't exist on the double. But yeah, apart from that, I thought it was really good, really fun. Nick Courtney's great in it. Everyone's brilliant in it. That acting across the board is really good. I think it's a bit of an interesting introduction to Turlough because within 2 minutes of meeting him, he's already been sort of aligned with the Black Guardian. Like that plotline moves quite fast. You don't really get to learn anything about Turlough before that plot's already in motion.
You get to learn that you throw his friend under the bus,
and also that he's not from Earth,
under a car.
Yeah,
he's not very trustworthy. He's a bit mysterious. Not got any problem. Parents probably not from Earth.
Bit of a cunt, really.
You have to wait until you have to.
Bit of a cunt, really. Actually, yeah.
Yeah. Do we like Turlough by the end of it, or is Turlough one of those?
I like Turlough by the time we get to the 5 Doctors.
Yeah, not by the end of this because obviously he's still a bit dodgy. But once you finish this arc off and you get into the 5 Doctors, it's better.
Yeah, I think I found him a bit irritating from the off. I mean, obviously, sort of like in later stories, I find him better, but yeah, it's just sort of like the whole thing of stealing a car, and he's always sort of like taking the piss out of his mate, or supposed to consider him as a mate, and oh, what are you, some kind of wuss, and
That's the point. He doesn't consider Hippo a mate, though, does he?
Well,
he's just using Hippo to do mischievous things. Like he blames Hippo for the car crashing and stuff. He doesn't think Hippo's a mate at all.
True.
Very, very mercenary.
I quite like Turlough. I think by the time he gets Planet of Fire, he's quite an interesting character.
By his final story, yeah.
Yeah, well, he's all right. He's all right.
I like character. Him in Resurrection of the Daleks.
He's quite good in Frontios, my second favourite Peter Davison story.
From the 5 Doctors up until his exit, I like his character.
Yeah,
but I think
I don't know.
Yeah, but by the time,
I think Strickland's a bit flat at the villainous stuff. I think he's quite good
Yeah.
at being a dick, but when he has to do a bit more villainy and a bit more, I don't think
But
you buy it.
by the time we get to the Five Doctors, he is a proper companion and he is likable.
Yeah.
Up until that point, you're umming and ahhing. It's like, is he going to turn? Is he not? Is he? What side's he leaning towards? But yeah, I think.
You think what?
I don't know what I think, Alex. I
You
think
said
I've
you
made
said
my
yeah.
point.
I think and then stopped.
I was just going to reiterate myself. So yeah,
Yeah. You think? Well, what do you think, Connor? Give us your score. It's a bit of a weird week. We got about scores on the doors, mate.
I'd give it a 7.5.
Nice. Owen.
I'll give it 8.5.
Oh God. Okay.
I really enjoyed this story.
Okay. John.
It's an 8 from me.
I'm going to agree with Connor at 7.5. That's where I would. That's where I put it. Now, before we get to our extra listeners review, I always do this because I find it a fun little thing to do, which is go back to our old review and look at the scores that we gave it. So John gave it a 6. Owen gave it a 7. Connor gave it an 8.
Gone up in
So
our
it's dropped for
estimations.
Connor. It's dropped for Connor. Score's gone down a little bit. And I hadn't seen it at the time, so I didn't rate it. There you go. But we do have listener reviews. We have technically, I think 4 or 5. I can't remember, but there's a few. One of them doesn't really count, and I'll get that one out of the way now. From Oshan Thomas, the wonderful Oshan Thomas. It was one of his favourite episodes of Who. He loved every second of this. Now, the reason I said it doesn't count, I can guarantee you he's not seen it. Just wanted to be involved. Bless him. But Oshan, just be aware that I know you're going to skip to the end of this podcast. But you already know what next week's review, well, not next week's, but in a couple of weeks' time, the review is. So, don't know why you want to know that, mate. What is next week, isn't it? Yeah, next week's review, guys. We already know what it is. Hey.
But if you are going to send in a fake review of something that you haven't actually watched, then sir, that makes you a charlatan and a fraud, and not the kind of person,
Phony.
not the kind of person that a honourable, a higher reputation publication like the Timeless Podcast should be associating with.
Absolutely. Okay.
Such
Right.
shithousery will not be tolerated.
There's no
Ooh,
shit.
that's
There's no shit. There's no shithousery on the Times podcast ever. Never.
No.
John, I know you've got a couple reviews.
Yeah, we got one from Lucy McCall. Lucy McCall. I like it. I know it makes a nonsense of the dates because of the Brigadier replacing Ian, but we get 2 Briggs, which is delightful, and we get a good introduction to Turlo. And Valentine Dial is properly scary, which actually is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've got one more from Paul_L_Quinn. I get strapped in, lads. The cliffhanger for this episode 3 may be the worst in all of Doctor Who. Davison is so bland, I lose sight of him against the pastel paintwork of Mawdryn's spaceship. They should have cut their losses and made David Collins the Doctor, or turned it into a erotic romp with Turlo. And he replies with a few alternate titles, which is Mawdryn in bed, or Mawdryn unzipped. Either way, we got there.
You're on the fence there, Paul.
Yeah, doesn't like Davison at all.
No.
I can't tell if he likes a spaceship or not either, which you were very complimentary on.
So I've got another one here from James H. Fitgeek at James H. Fitgeek UK at B Sky whatever, and he's at Fitgeek _UK. There is no prize. The Doctor at the end of Enlightenment. Gotta love Mawdryn. An attempt to do something different with a companion, a glorious flashback sequence, and the best spot the body double story hint. The stand is in the brig. The stand-in is the brig with the bald spot. As we've already established.
I don't. I think everyone. Once you notice the bald spot, you can't unsee it. And whenever you get shot reverse shot. It was very obvious. I've got another review here, but I think it relates more to the GIF in which I posted the thing about. Obviously, I did the GIF is actually from the visitation, and Andrew Trugumble, I've absolutely butchered that. At Spudfish83 said the fella needed a spin off 100%, and I think he means none other than Richard Mace from the visitation. I think that's who he's replying to within that, because I can't think of a character that needed a spin off within this. Unless he's talking about Hippo.
So you used a GIF.
Yep.
Of Richard Mace.
Yep.
AKA Arthur from On the Buses, to ask for reviews to this story.
There's not many Fifth Doctor gifts out there, apart from
You
his
stupid great lamp.
You stupid great nit.
Apart from the sorry mustache and the Fifth Doctor, there's not too many gifts out there on the old X. So yeah, has to be done. Right though, it is time. It's going to be a bit weird one because it is time to find out what we're going to be reviewing around the second week in January. So in around 2 months' time, we're going to find out what we're going to be reviewing.
Obviously, there will be content before that point.
Yeah. So very similar to
tell people about afterwards, but
very similar to last time. The only Doctors that are in play this time are 9, 10, and 12. We've not actually done a 9 yet, so that'd be quite fun. I do have a feeling it could be 10 or 12 just based on pure volume. Let's find out. Gridlock. It's 10 again. It's 10 again.
No,
10 again. It's 10 again.
Nice.
I'm not against that. Yeah, Gridlock.
Yeah.
Could be relevant, could be not. We don't know. What is it going to be a reference to Gridlock? Maybe. Like anything could be referenced in these episodes.
So what's happening until Gridlock?
New Doctor Who's out. Yay! Special new episodes of Doctor Who. So the lineups.
What is your schedule, Alex?
The lineups are confirmed. But first, on the podcast, there's going to be on the day reactions from myself to each episode as well, so you can get those out and get my initial thoughts onto you. Then a couple of days later, the podcast will be back with more in-depth reviews after I've seen it twice or 3 times, and to get a proper thoughts on it as well. And all the guests are lined up. Should I reveal those?
Hello.
Yes.
Right, so on the first episode, we got a bit of a past to future. So on the first episode, it's going to be the original Times Podcast host George Tucker's going to be making his return alongside Oshan. Number 2 is going to be 2 of the people that are on this episode, which is John and Connor. And episode 3 is going to be the return of 2 old Times Podcast hosts that haven't been around in a while in Beef and Elijah. They were taking a few of those, and then I've not worked out what the Christmas special is going to be yet. I think that's just going to not the podcast Christmas special. That's always figured out, and John, I'm sure, will always be there because he always is in his Christmas hat and ready to sing the praise of Christmas. Connor, it depends on how many.
I'll tell you now, Alex. It's literally just me and my dad at Christmas this year. So if I am not asked to review the Christmas episode, I will be holding it against you for making a Christmas depression even more depressing. Yes, that's emotional blackmail. I don't care.
I won't be reviewing it on Christmas Day either way.
But I don't care.
I actually have to review it on Mum's birthday.
This is me saying that, like Hadrick, I'm available, and that you would be a very bad friend not to pick me.
You're always allowed to be on the show whenever you like.
I'm always available.
There will also be the annual Christmas podcast as well, which will be out on Christmas Day, despite if Doctor Who's on that day, which according to Disney Plus, it might well be.
I mean, the annual Christmas podcast is only 3 hours long, so you could fit that in well before Doctor Who.
Absolutely. Exactly. And Connor might be there depending on how much he's already drank that day, because last year he went on for a few drinks before and had to bow out halfway through.
I mean, the best Christmas podcast was the one when Beef turned up completely hammered.
That was also last year's. That was why last year's was a heavily cut down version, because I had 2 people that were a bit too drunk and were saying stuff.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Well,
but some of the stuff that was said.
Think of it this way, right? This, between the 22nd and the 28th of December, I'm staying with Beef.
Yeah, but we don't record the Christmas podcast then. We record it like a couple of weeks before.
Yeah.
Bugger.
Yeah, it's filmed. It's filmed. It'll be filmed. It'll be filmed in early December.
And believe me, it would really fuck up the audio to try to record a podcast with that, because when you're both in the same room, the acoustics really are not great.
Mm.
Yeah, so that'll be coming back. Lineup for that is not confirmed yet, but yeah, guys, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you to John and Owen who have been on this adventure throughout the final 3 to 4 months of 2023, and we'll be back basically every month next year as planned, and doing the same kind of schedule, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. But until then, you have got me basically every week now until the end of the year. Bless yous. So there won't be a break now, I don't think, until the end of the year. And then we'll be back in January with some more Doctor Who. It's Gridlock. It's exciting. Yeah. Go check out Connor. What socials do you want to shout out, Connor? I don't do yours every week, so I don't know yours off by heart.
Twitter/X. I am Connor63.
Yes.
That's
Go
the
check
one.
out Owen.
There's Alex making his pro Elon symbol again.
Yeah. I was actually having a conversation about this, that I should get in touch with Elon about getting a better wheelchair. My mate was saying I should get in touch with him. I'm not against it. I'll do it. I'll promote it. You can follow Owen at Dr. Disco 63, and you can follow
On
John
all my socials.
at JohnBoy_Cook as well, and you can follow me Alex King_Dom. Follow the podcast at Thomas Pod, and I leave you with John Cook. Not the last time this year, but you might be hearing next week say it. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but
I mean,
for one last time,
most of the listeners probably will hear me next time, because now that they know who's on for each special, let's face it, they're gonna fucking skip right straight to what beyond that.
wow. Thanks, John.
It's like, because you've literally just gone, remember when we were shit? Well, good night. God bless. Don't have nightmares. Do sleep well. Very subscribe and listen to the Timeless podcast.